is 6:01 p.m. We are calling to order the special select board meeting for September the 4th, Wednesday. Welcome, everyone. We will begin by reminding folks this meeting is being recorded and broadcast on Sterling-Lancaster Community Television. And we'll begin with a roll call of our select board members. Mr. Allison.
Here.
Mr. Gifford.
Here.
Mr. Kerrigan here. Okay. All right. First item. We normally do minutes, but we will, since we had a 6 o'clock hearing scheduled, we will begin by calling that hearing to order. Jason, do you have that? Or Ralph, do you have that for calling the meeting to hearing to order?
I got it here.
Okay.
The Lancaster Select Board will hold a public hearing in accordance with GL Chapter 41, 811, and GL Chapter 82, 22 on Wednesday, September 4th, 2024 at 6 p.m. in the National Meeting Room in Lancaster's Prescott Building, 701 Main Street, Lancaster, and via Zoom regarding the proposed laying out of Hawthorne Lane as a public way for its entire length from its intersection with Hilltop Road to its terminus as shown within a 17-page set of plans entitled, quote, Definitive Subdivision Plan off Hilltop Road, Lancaster, Massachusetts, end quote, by Whitman and Bingham Associates, LLC, plan number 17-C-126, dated October 6, 2015, copy of which is on file with the Lancaster Town Clerk, available for viewing during business hours and available for viewing online at Lancaster MAUS website, which the link is in the agenda, and the potential acquisition of land in fee and or easements for said way and related drainage, access and utility and other easements by eminent domain. A copy of this notice shall be posted at the town clerk's office.
That's a motion to open a hearing.
Second.
All in favor of opening the hearing? Mr. Allison?
Aye.
Mr. Gifford?
Aye.
Mr. Kerrigan, aye. Hearing's open. So this hearing is for the select board to discuss this topic again, and the determination of this hearing will decide whether we put this article on the special town meeting warrant for October 7th. Jason, since you're not in the room and it's easiest to call on people not in the room, do you have any comments that you wish to make?
No, nothing new for me. I'm for the acceptance of this town road as we discussed in the past, so I look forward to closing this out. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ralph?
No.
Okay. Additionally, I don't think there's anything more I have to say on this matter since we've discussed it ad nauseum. And I know there's a lot more work we're going to be doing in the coming weeks, but this is an important step. So if there's no further discussion, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing. Oh, Public Works. Do you? No, he's just coughing. Oh, any public questions, comments? Hearing none. I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor of closing the hearing? Mr. Allison?
Aye.
Mr. Gifford?
Aye.
Mr. Kerrigan, aye. The hearing is closed. So now there should be a motion. Yes?
I sent it to him.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you got it.
Yeah, I move, whereas the select board per NGL chapter 28, 822 are permitted to lay out, relocate, or alter town ways for the use of and whereas the office of the select board has notices the hearing consistent with chapter 28, 23, and provided a written notice of the intention of the board to lay out the roadway, commonly referred to as Hawthorne Lane, at the usual place of abode of the owners of the land, which will be taken for said purpose and have cause to public said notice in a local paper of general circulation. And whereas the town clerk received a copy of the board's proposed laying out of Hawthorne Lane as a public way for its entire length from its intersection with Hilltop Road to its terminus as shown within the 17-page plan set entitled, quote, Definitive Subdivision Plan off Hilltop Road, Lancaster, Massachusetts, end quote. The plan number of 17-C-126 dated October 6, 2015. And whereas the Select Board accepts the testimonies and information it has received from interested parties and wishes to formally lay out the roadway known as Hawthorne Lane as a bona fide town road under the care, custody, and control of the town of Lancaster, Massachusetts. I now move for the Select Board to formally accept and lay out the roadway known as Hawthorne Lane in Lancaster, MA, consistent with recorded plan number 17-C-126, dated 10/6/2015, and I further move to place this matter on the warrant for the special town meeting scheduled to begin at 7 p.m. on Monday, October 7th, 2024, in the Mary Rowlandson Elementary Auditorium.
Thank you. There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Mr. Allison?
Aye.
Mr. Gifford?
Aye.
Mr. Kerrigan? Aye. All right. Awesome. So that is approved. And moving on to the town meeting warrant. Someone should tell Wynn Clark that bell tower is 8 minutes off. He just rang at 6:08. Hope he's watching at home. Okay. Next, we have a hearing at 6:30, but since it's been published for 6:30, and I know our colleagues from the DPW are here, we do have to wait since it's a public hearing scheduled for 6:30. But don't worry, we'll make it entertaining while you wait by moving on to other items on the agenda. Next item on the agenda, and I see someone on the edge of their seat, I'm assuming not you, Everett, no, public comment. So, public comment, as you all know, the Supreme Judicial Court says that we can't tell you what to say or how to say it, but they do say we can tell you how long you can say it. And so we set a 2-minute limit. Lancaster residents, we will go to folks in the room first. You have to name yourself and your address, and then you get 2 minutes. So we'll go to anybody in the room first, and then we'll go to folks online. When we've exhausted that, the public comment will close. So, someone is at the podium, and I invite you to state your name and address and begin.
Gene Sevier, 102 Bolton Road, South Lancaster. First of all, I find it really ironic that Jason's on Zoom, since he's the one that wants to get rid of Zoom for people that live on the ponds and other areas that don't get Comcast TV. So I just wanted to point that out. But my biggest concern is we passed an override. And with that override was said, there would be no new jobs. No new jobs made, okay? Since then, and no offense to Kelly, but now we have an assistant TA, but I'm not sure why. And now we're looking at it by getting an executive secretary as well, an additional one. We've advertised that in MMA, that costs money. It's on the town website. The Board of Selectmen have never talked about it. We seem to be sliding things through without putting them on the warrant and not letting the townspeople have a say. And I personally don't like being lied to. People voted for that override, being told there would be no new jobs, and what have you done? You've added more jobs, we're more top-heavy. We have less DPW workers than we should, and that's on you guys. That's on your board, not communicating with the townspeople on how our money is being spent. Not even talking about an administrative assistant. And again, I don't know why. I don't think our population has gone up that big since Kathy Lamb left. Kathy Lamb used to take Mondays off, every Monday. And Steve, you know this, okay? And she'd be at the selectmen's meeting, taking minutes of the meeting every Monday. She would be there 4 days a week and get all the work done, including the town warrant, and the town book. We have to hire somebody because this one person can't handle that? What has changed so much that we need to spend all this money? And where are we gonna be in 2 years when you promised you'd bring in industry, which we don't have, and we're gonna be laying off people?
Thank you.
That's all I got to say. Have a great night.
You as well. Anybody else? Roy?
Yes, Roy Resack, 125 Harvard Road. I'd like to speak to two issues. The first is, as Mr. Allison has brought up several times, he asked a question at the July 15th meeting, and I quote, he'd asked for a response to the question, how do I stay in my family's generational home when I cannot afford taxes in Lancaster? I want it noted, and as I have communicated to Mr. Ellison and provided courtesy copies to the other members of the Select Board, as well as an informational record copy to the town administrator, I provided a multi-page response to Mr. Ellison, which provided not only the background behind that and behind the response that I was going to provide, I will say with input from many of the members of the former Tax Fairness Committee, as well as some of the members of the HRR team, LCC team, who are here today. And reported to Mr. Kerrigan, I'm sorry.
Just 1 minute, sorry.
Okay. To Mr. Ellison, that while there was no silver bullet, there was an appropriate process approach, which was to summarize the contents of the Tax Fairness Committee report, which answered many questions about our taxes, and a recommendation that the Select Board send people to the LCC for counseling and for input relative to various grants, how to manage their finances, and that type of thing. The second issue I would like to mention is that understand that the Tax Fairness Committee is on the agenda for later on tonight. I cannot get my comments in the remaining time here in public comment. I would ask, because I have background and experience as the writer of that report, that I be asked to comment, be allowed to comment and interact there and give you a proposal in terms of what I would recommend we do. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody, if you're online, throw up your virtual hand. If anybody in the room would like to comment, make your way to the podium. Going once, going twice, going thrice. All right, public comment is now closed. Thank you, everybody. If it's the board's,
Point of order, Mr. Chair?
Uh-huh.
Did you want to go, did you want to go back and do minutes?
oh, sure, thank you. Thank you, I appreciate that. I was looking to what else we could take care of quickly. Approval of the minutes. So we have regular meeting minutes from July the 15th and August the 5th.
I'll move to approve the minutes for July 15th, 2024 and August 5th, 2025.
Is there a second? Oh, 2024, I think. We can't approve the minutes for 2025 because it hasn't happened yet.
That's correct, August 2024, thank you.
It's trying to catch us, so. All right, is there a second?
I'm going to second for purposes of discussion.
That sounds fantastic. So that makes my next question a simple one. Is there any discussion on the motion?
I actually wish to amend the motion.
Okay.
So I move to correct the following statement. I actually have two corrections, I'm sorry, so let me start over.
Amendments.
Two amendments, yes. I move to correct the following statement in the last paragraph of page 4.
Page 4 of which date?
This is of the July 15 minutes.
Let me turn to that part of my hymnal. Page 4. Okay, the last paragraph of page 4.
Right. And I'm
That
starting,
means Mr. Gifford has emailed the document, that paragraph?
I emailed, yes, to you, and I've copied Jason.
No, that's how the paragraph begins.
Oh.
That's my question. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, I put in the 3 dots to signal, I wasn't putting in the whole thing.
Okay, I'm just asking if that's the paragraph you want to amend, but keep going.
It's in that
Okay.
paragraph.
Go ahead. What's the amendment?
Okay. I move to correct the following
Amend.
statement in the last paragraph on page 4.
To say,
First, I'm going to read the statement as it currently exists. Lancaster, having the highest property tax rate of several surrounding
where do you,
towns.
that's not the last paragraph on page 4 of the minutes. So I just need to know where you would like, this is what, every time we talk about amending minutes, I just need to know where you want to amend them, and we can do that, but you gotta give me some guidance. The last paragraph on page 4 starts, Mr. Gifford has emailed the document to Ms. Hodges. It's under section 5, select board's goals, Gifford. I don't see anything, any sentence or paragraph, well, I don't see a paragraph that starts with Lancaster.
In the sentence that says, in that last paragraph, the first goal presented is property tax with, and then I'm
Got it.
amending the following words. It currently says, Lancaster having the highest property tax rate of several surrounding towns, he proposes a long-term goal of reducing the tax rate by 1.5%, doing this in stages with 1.7% for fiscal year 26, 1.6% for fiscal year 27, and 1.5% for fiscal year 28. I want to replace that section that I just read with this statement. Lancaster having the highest single-family tax bill as a percentage of property value of several surrounding towns. Our current 3-year rolling average of a single-family tax bill as a percentage of property value is 1.81%. He proposes a long-term goal of bringing our 3-year rolling average of a single-family tax bill as a percentage of property value to 1.7% for fiscal year 26, 1.6% for fiscal year 27, and 1.5% for fiscal year 28.
So that's your motion?
That's my,
Okay, so you're making a motion to amend the minutes with that long statement there?
right, and I have one further, but I don't know how you want to handle this
We have to handle them
procedurally.
one at a time, so in case one dies, the other one doesn't die too.
Right.
Is there a second to the amendment?
So I'm not gonna second, I don't,
Well, you have to either second for purpose of discussion or it dies for lack of a second. I'll second for the purpose of discussion. Now you go ahead and discuss, Jason. You had a comment to make.
yeah, I understand, Ralph, what you wanna do. I haven't looked back at the tape, I can't corroborate, but that is exactly what you said. I would encourage that we ask staff to go back and look at it and make adjustments. But remember, it's not supposed to be, word for word exact. It's supposed to be a summarization of what it said. So if there's something that's actually inaccurate, I think that's reasonable. But if there's something that's just, it wasn't as explicit maybe as you stated it, then that's not really the intent of the minutes. So I would rather just, send it back to Kathy and Jean and let them revisit it. But I don't know if that's what you said, so I can't vote to that extent.
So that's sort of where I'm headed. So I do know they did go back and watch the tape again. And although that may have been the intent of what you said, again, it's not a transcript. I want your words to be reflected properly, but that's why I kept saying amend, not correct. They went back and rewatched the tape after you sent in suggestions, and that's reflected in these minutes. So the minutes are supposed to reflect what happened at the meeting, not unknown intent necessarily. I also don't think it's that big of, I can't imagine the Smithsonian's going to be digging through these, wondering what we said at these meetings. And I don't think it's that much of a stretch. So I want to make sure that we spend a lot of time these days talking about our minutes, which is fine. Just reminder, they're not supposed to be transcripts. They're supposed to be summaries of what took place so that people have a general sense of what happened. Not a transcript. If they want to see exactly, they could watch the tape, which I know Kathy did go back after your concern and rewatched, and the summary seemed consistent. Again, it's your statement, so I want to make sure we're giving you your due.
So there is a significant difference between what is in the minutes as saying that I wanted to reduce the tax rate and what I was proposing, which is a goal of meeting a 3-year rolling average of a single-family tax bill.
Then why don't we do this? I'm going to suggest for the second time, that I would suggest you go rewatch the meeting. I'll rewatch the meeting. I'm not going to ask Kathy to rewatch it again because now she's seen it a couple of times. And then at the next meeting we can discuss. I understand what your intent was, but again, this isn't supposed to be a transcript. It's supposed to be a summary. That's a summary. It's been watched twice. If we go back and watch it and you would like to change it, what we can't do is put a treatise on tax policy in the minutes because you would like to explain that position better than it might have been reflected in the thing. So my request is for you to withdraw your amendment and for us to table the approval of the 15th minutes. But if you don't want to withdraw, we can vote down the amendment and then table it then. But What's your
I'll withdraw my amendment if we'll
Okay.
table.
All right, I move we table the minutes for July 15th to the next meeting. All in favor? Aye.
I second
Okay,
and
yeah,
I,
that's okay. Great. Meeting minutes for the 5th. Let's see if we can get through this in less than a half. We got a hearing in 8 minutes, so.
Yep, so I move to approve the executive meeting minutes redacted.
Oh, no, you gotta do the August 5th meeting first.
My motion had both of those.
Oh, it did, okay. So we're tabling both.
So then I can just move,
You could move the, do you have a question about the 5th?
no, I don't.
Awesome. So
move
let's,
to August 5th, 2024 minutes.
sounds good.
I second.
All in favor, Jason?
Aye.
Ralph?
Aye.
Aye, Steve. Okay, now go on to executive.
All right, so I move to take action on the meeting minutes redacted to allow the release of item number 2, negotiations with non-union bylaw employee, released upon an affirmative vote June 3rd, 2024.
Second.
Okay. Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Jason?
Aye.
Ralph?
Aye.
Steve? Aye. Okay. All right. Sorry, still not 6:30, but we're getting there. We're on our way. We are going to go now, for those paying attention in your hymnal, to appointments and resignations. Resignations, Lancaster Affordable Housing Trust. We thank Carolyn Reed for her service and acknowledge her resignation. I will say I put on CPC under the appointment line item. We are not planning on making an appointment to that tonight. It was so that we could check in. We had appointed somebody. They then decided not to fulfill that appointment, so I wanted to make sure we checked with folks who were to see if they're still interested. We will consider that and put those names on the agenda for the 16th and act on that, so that resolves that. Now, licensing and permits, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see if we can get through them in 7 minutes, and then we can wait patiently or, yeah.
So do we need to accept the resignation of Carolyn?
Yeah, we just acknowledge her.
Okay.
Everybody gonna tell her no?
Okay.
It's her life, she can live it.
Yeah, well, I mean, she's moving, so.
Yeah, so licensing and permits, Jason, our clerk, do you want to take us through these?
I move to approve application for town license for entertainment on weekdays and Sundays, name of concern, the Profound Market at Lancaster Fairgrounds, street address of Concern, 318 Seven Bridge Road, contact person Michelle Palmer, Rose Garden, event, display of vintage-inspired vendors, market, time Saturday, September 21st, 2024, from 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m., and Sunday, September 22nd, 2024, from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Is there a second?
Second?
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Jason?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next.
Move to approve special one-day liquor license application, all alcohol, applicant's name, Rose Darden, organization, Fair Inc., event address, 318 Seven Bridge Road, event purpose, Profound Market, event date, September 21st to September 22nd, 2024, event hours, Saturday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m., and Sunday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Is there a second?
Second?
All those in favor? Jason?
Aye.
Ralph?
Aye.
Steve? Aye. Next.
Very excited for this one. Move to approve application for town license for entertainment on weekdays and Sundays, name of concern, Pet Rock Festival, street address of
Who doesn't wanna go there?
18 Seven Bridge Road, contact person Charlie Arsenal, Rose Darden, event, family festival to promote kindness to animals, date and time, Sunday, October 6th, 2024, from noon to 5 p.m.
I second.
Okay. All those in favor? Who doesn't love a pet rock? All those in,
It's not pet rocks. I got very excited.
oh, well.
It's like they rock.
Oh.
I thought it was
I'm
people with
just,
pet rocks.
if they're paying attention, you should put pets rock, not just pet rock. But anyway, whatever. Either way, who doesn't love
I'm not
pets?
bringing my pet rocks.
You can bring your pet rocks if you want, but I think
I mean,
it's,
they may have that, but
yeah. If anyone needs a pet rock, we got a ton in our yard. Just come by, I'll hand you a rock. All right, all those in favor? Jason?
Aye.
Ralph?
Aye.
Steve, aye. Next.
Move to approve special one-day liquor license application, all alcohol, applicant name, Rose Darden, organization, Pet Rock Festival, Golden Fair
No.
Inc., event
Oh,
address,
same one.
1870 Road, event purpose, Pet Rock Festival, event date, October 6th, 2024, storage days, October 4th and 5th, 2024, event hours, Sunday, noon to 5 p.m.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Jason?
Aye.
Ralph? Steve, aye. 4 more minutes.
Their
Okay.
flowers are very cool.
They're flyers are cool, that's good.
It's band instruments and rocks.
Oh my God,
So-
zany.
You know what you're gonna get there.
Yeah, that's gonna be just crazy. Will there be pets? Will there be rocks? Will there be guitars? Who knows? Okay. We have a few items under administration, budget, and policy that I think we can get done in 3 minutes. One being the opening of the FY24 special town meeting warrant. We merely need to do that, yes?
Yes, please.
So is there a motion to open the FY24 special town meeting warrant for October 7th, 2024?
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, pick whoever
Aye.
moved and seconded. Okay, all in favor, Jason?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so that special town meeting warrant is open. All right, we don't have time for you guys yet. We don't have time for those yet, or that. Or, okay, finalizing proposed CPA policies and procedures. We've had a chance to review them. I think they're fantastic. I have no questions. Do you?
CPA adopted them at their.
CPA adopted them at the last meeting. All that stands in the way of their full force and effect is us saying aye as well. Is there a motion to accept the finalized proposed Community Preservation Act policies and procedures?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Jason?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, awesome. Oh boy, we got 2 minutes. But your public records thing, are we taping that or are you keeping that? It's on the agenda.
Oh, that's gonna take a little more than 2 minutes.
Okay.
I'm keeping it.
Oh, we are.
But it won't take a
A lot.
I hope it won't take. very
I
long.
hope so too.
Yeah.
Okay, well then, we have 2 minutes, during which I will explain to you all that the, next select board meeting will be held on Monday, September 16th, 2024, or according to this, 2004, at 6 PM in this very room. And there will be a special town meeting. How am I doing this? Oh, 1 minute. Will be held on Monday, October 7th, 2024, starting at 7 PM at the Mary Rowlandson Elementary School Auditorium. Plan accordingly. Should be a whiz banger. Don't bring your pets or your rocks. We are just like a minute away. It's like so exciting, isn't it? Sure. Do you guys want to come up?
That might take a minute.
Well, that should take a minute, yeah. Invite our
I,
commissioner.
you want me to start reading the opening of the public hearing? I can go next to slides.
Yeah, go ahead, start reading it.
All right, so I move to open the public hearing for enterprise water rate adjustment. The select board will hold a public hearing in accordance with GL Chapter 41, 81I, maybe that's 81I, 81I, and GL Chapter 82, 22 on Wednesday, September 24th at 6:30 PM in the Nashway Meeting Room in Lancaster, Prescott Building, 701 Main Street, Lancaster, in conjunction with the Public Works Commissioners, and via Zoom regarding the proposed change in water rates charged for a private town of Lancaster's enterprise water operation.
Thank you. That is a motion. Is there a second? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Jason?
Aye.
Ralph? Steve? Aye. Okay, the select board have opened the public hearing for the enterprise rate adjustments. Do they have to open a meeting of their own? Okay, so you guys have to open your own meeting. How about it?
Small meeting.
It was posted, yes. Yes, it was. Was posted.
All right. You guys do it your way, I don't care.
Yeah.
You're open, good. All right. Floor's yours.
How you doing, Pat?
Super good, super good. 6:31, we're running late now.
The board is looking at an increase of 5% on water rates. And on these rates, it goes up by tiers. The first tier, the first step, it will not be going up 5% at all. This is what we're trying to do is water conservation. So people want to save money, use less water. But every other step, our water system is based on 4 steps. So every time you go up a step, you get charged a different rate. The following steps, 2, 3, and 4, would be 5%. But it will still be, they will still be charged by the cubic feet within that step. It sounds confusing. We will be putting this out there on Facebook to explain it. Do you want me to read it, explain it to you, or?
It's up to the board. I think you explained it well to me, but what are can you explain the steps perhaps? The 4 steps, just so people understand.
Okay, it's a 4-step rating. On the first step, 0 to 700 cubic feet, everyone's charged a minimum of $52.21. And there's a lot of people in town are within that first step. The second step, it goes up from, I'm trying to read it with my glasses, the small print, 701 to 3,500 cubic feet. And that goes up by, it'll be charged $5.43. Third step would be 3,501 to 10,000, and it goes up to, at that rate, it's $7.24 per 100 cubic feet.
Okay.
But if you go up the tier, let's say you go through step 2 and 3, you will always be charged step 1 rate, step 2 rate, step 3. Correct. The 5% we're looking at increase will be in step 2, 3, and 4.
So that $5 or something cent per 100, whatever it is, that'll
Yes.
go up 5%.
It works out to pennies per.
No, yeah, so that'll go up 5%, and then on top of that 5%. Okay, that makes sense.
You know, and this is, next year we will have to go up the rates right across the board, but that's a year from now. And what we're doing is water conservation. And instead of hitting the lower people at the first rate,
No, I appreciate that you don't do that. Okay, do either of you have anything else? Awesome. Jason, Ralph, do you have any questions?
I do.
Just a quick question. So why, like, what, I don't want this to come out accusatory, like, why are we raising rates? Like, what's the challenge? What are we trying to overcome? Like,
it was water conservation, Jason. Water conservation. And plus, as you know, we're trying to improve water quality in the system.
Okay. Awesome, thank you.
And the DOR also recommends that we raise the rates yearly to keep up with inflation.
Yep.
To keep our capital and all that in line.
Right. Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Gifford, thank you.
First is, just to confirm what I heard you say, those who pay that minimum rate, that flat rate, no increase for them.
Nothing. No.
Just wanted to make sure that's loud and clear to everybody.
And that's greater than 50% of the customers.
Thank you. That's excellent, good to know. What is driving the need for water conservation?
Our expansion. We're coming close to a draw permit. The more you save, the town saves. You know, eventually we're gonna, it's to expand the draw permit, and correct me if I'm wrong, you have to do several conservations. And this is a good step in the right direction.
Okay.
And we're also doing a new meter program, which is also water conservation.
Looking forward to that new meter program.
Boy, this, people won't be able to cheat the system no more. I'm one of the demos, and it's very exciting.
I had a situation happen where a pipe broke and it was running like crazy for months till we got the water bill and discovered.
That's what's nice about the new meters is if you have a pipe break in your house and you're not home, you can get
This
it.
was out in between the,
It'll even tell you that too. That'll send an alert to your phone that'll tell you that.
that's why I'm looking,
Have a
because
leak
I
in your system.
did my research and I found a lot of cities, towns were doing that, and like,
We are trying it right now, trial, and myself, I have one of the meters at my house, and we're doing our vacation in the fall. Last Saturday, I believe, Regina pulled it up on her phone, because she's more of a computer whiz than I am, and you can see the usage. You can see like Sunday where I forgot the sprinkler was on, I used 1,000 gallons. Versus, I forgot. Versus during the week when we're not home, the youngest son's there, you use 10 gallons. So you can pull everything up, you can see when you use water, and like Rick said.
This can solve the debate in every household about what spouse uses the most water.
And if you have a water break.
Yes.
And if you do, you can't tamper with the system either, because it shows alarms.
This is a fantastic topic for a different hearing, but it's so.
This is what your money's going.
let me go along.
This is what the money's going to.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And thank you for that, because it's important for people to understand where the money is going to. Ultimately, it could save money.
Correct.
All right, how close are we to needing to essentially expand our draw permit?
Well, working on it. Keep in mind, many years ago, when the college shut down, that helped out. I mean, we pointed that out back then. But we're approaching all these, as we know, developments, and we're working on it.
Okay. Last question, when did we last have a rate increase and how much was it?
I think it was 2016, possibly.
2021.
2021?
I think it was 3% at that time.
Across the board?
Yes.
And very possible, I don't want anybody to be surprised, next year, we're probably gonna look at a small percentage going up, probably another 3% on all the steps.
Don't give them all the information one night, we want them to tune in next year.
Thank you.
Thanks. Jason, any questions? Do you guys have anything for us?
This,
Thank you.
this will take place after the next reading.
So, October?
October.
Okay. All right.
What? We can't do that?
Yes. It doesn't support what?
But you guys can chat about that after we're done with this hearing. All right, any other questions, comments, anybody? Do we have to open this to the public?
I have my hand raised.
Understood, thank you. We don't have,
You.
we do, okay. All right, anybody in the room? Nobody? Okay, go right ahead.
Hi, Linnea Lake Survey, 1394 Main Street. I have some general questions. The Water Enterprise Fund is supposed to be a
Excuse me, Linnea, sorry, this hearing's about the rate, so we're gonna keep your questions to
Right,
the rate.
it's
It's a rate
totally
here.
about the rate.
Okay, but
Why, is there, I would like to know how this rate will affect the contingency fund and what you do with leftover money that doesn't go towards, I'm all for conservation, but this is supposed to be a self-funded system, and rates go up to cover expenses, and they go down if there's a surplus. So how is that handled?
your show.
You're well aware of the system, because your ex-spouse
Up.
developed it. You know, we never.
Absolutely.
Yes, and we never go down the system. It goes into the water enterprise for present and future expansions and projects, excuse me.
So when does it
Hey,
become,
Linnea, this is.
you've got so much money.
Linnea, this is not a back and forth. You asked your questions, the DPW commissioners are going to provide an answer, but this isn't you made your comment, you asked your question, he's endeavoring to give an answer. If you'd like to ask another question, you can ask, but we have another hand up.
I would like to know where one can go view the profit and loss, retained earnings, all of that for the Water Enterprise Fund. So somebody can double check to see if this is really
you can either ask the question or answer it. So you can go online to the audit online, and all that information is there available to you. Okay, Mr. Trussell, thank you. Dick. Got it? There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Richard Trussell, 15 Burbank Lane.
yep.
First place to the commission for holding the rate to about 2.5% increase. However, I'm opposed to the way it's being applied. First of all, the first gallon of water costs the same as the 12,000th gallon of water. So you're asking 50% of the people, as proposed, as said previously, pay 100% of the increase. I see no fairness in that at all. You're asking for conservation. If you really want conservation, it should be with those people who are, I know you have a rate for filling pools, and for those people who are watering lawns. Because size of the family dictates use of water. you were also asking the larger users not only save for themselves, but to save for the smaller users. And lastly, this sets a precedent which I really don't like, that we can just lay it on to the people with the most money, that, or the highest rate. I see no reason why this cannot be about $1.30 increase for the smaller user, and the same kind of increase for the larger user. I do not like the precedent it sets for future rate increases.
All right.
In fact, it's the entirely opposite of what we're trying to achieve. Thank you.
Thank you. You can comment on that if you'd like. You don't.
We're not going to sugarcoat this. We're being straight with the public about this. With a 5% increase, maybe the people won't take a 20-minute shower. Maybe they'll take a 15-minute shower. Maybe they shut the water off when they brush their teeth. We're talking about water conservation. Everybody can improve about their water bills, including myself.
Some can a one-time user.
Dick, we gotta be fair here. You made your comments and he's answering again. Just as I said to the last questioner, you're gonna make your comment, then he gets a chance to respond.
Well, I didn't know he was going to make the statement.
You asked a question, so he was responding to your comments. So, but thank you, Dick, and thank you, Doug. Any other folks? Okay, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
Gentlemen?
No close.
All in favor?
Jason? Or Ralph?
I move to close the hearing.
Thank you. Jason, are you seconding that? You're muted, but I'm assuming you're seconding. There we go.
Lost my thing there, sorry.
All in favor, Jason?
Aye.
Ralph, aye. Okay, and aye for me. So the hearing is closed. Now is there a motion?
So I move that the select board ratify the rate determination made by the Board of Public Works this evening relative to the town of Lancaster's water enterprise, and further that the rate takes effect on, which date did we decide?
Right. Which date?
October?
1? Yeah. October 1, 2024.
That the rate takes effect on October 1, 2024, as proposed by.
For a second.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All's in favor, Jason?
Aye.
Mr. Gifford?
Aye.
And Mr. Kerrigan, aye. Okay. I know you guys are gonna talk through some stuff. Yes? Thank all three.
Absolutely, yes.
Thank all three of you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. I had to wait longer than the hearing was. I apologize. All right. Thank you all. Okay. Next. We did everything there. So now we go to the only thing we have, well, we have many things left, but they are all under administration, budget, and policy. First item on that, Kate, if you're okay with this, we're going to go to item 2, because we already did the warrant, which is proposed amendment to FY25 capital budget, fire apparatus emergency acquisition and Thayer Memorial Library structural repair project. I understand there's going to be a presentation from fire leadership and our public safety commissioner Moody, and then a presentation, unless you guys are doing a soft shoe together, and then a presentation by the library director, Mr. Muley. Is that correct? All right. Commish, you and your folks, the floor is yours.
Kate, if you could, the thumb drive has a presentation on it. While she's getting that ready, I just want to start off with a brief statement. Just saying that just over a year ago, our previous fire chief, Michael Hansen, stood before the board. Ralph, you were not on the board at that time, but he prepared a PowerPoint presentation that articulated the need for replacing Lancaster's Engine 4. Engine 4 was ordered in 1998. It is a Class A pump engine. It has received tens of thousands of dollars in repairs over the last several years, and unfortunately is in the need of tens of thousands more. The air brake system leaks, the pump is no longer draft capable, body rot and electrical issues are among the known issues. Unfortunately, it is at the end of its reliable, useful life. Many of the pump parts are no longer available, and any repairs made will not extend the life expectancy or guarantee greater job performance. At the time of Chief Hansen's presentation, the replacement cost was $1.1 million. The latest estimate is $1.2 million. One of the biggest challenges we as department heads and you as elected officials face is asking our residents for budgetary impactful purchases. So before getting to this point, we challenged our team to think outside of the box. We asked to be mindful of financial impacts and to look at the department as a whole. We looked beyond the simple replacement of an engine and took a town-wide comprehensive approach. We asked one another to think about application, repairs, maintenance, equipment, and day-to-day cost. But most importantly, we asked to focus on better service and response for our residents, improving our firefighting response times and the quality of equipment while increasing our capabilities, especially to our non-hydrant district, became the goal. This multi-equipment plan has the potential to save lives and property while minimizing the personnel necessary and safely and effectively responding to our problem areas in town. With that, I'd like to turn this over to Lieutenants Aldridge and Gilchrist for the presentation.
Lieutenant?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Can we get that like full screen, or is that as big as it goes?
It's full screen on theirs, it's just not on ours as host.
Yeah, if you do, we'll do immersive.
Ooh,
Nope,
no.
don't do that.
Okay, steer be wrong. How do you, oh, no. How do you get rid of like this here? View.
That's, yeah, I think that's better.
Close Jason. You can't close it anymore. How's that?
It's good enough. We'll make it work.
Good enough is good enough.
I'm going to go sit in Jason's chair so I can see.
I'd ask you
around
to
that
ask
post.
permission first.
Oh, man.
Hey, Brett, thank you, someone say that. Lieutenant?
Yeah, I don't mind. So as it was explained, Engine 4 is probably past its useful life. It was bought in '99 for $237,000, which you can't buy anything nowadays for that. 25 years old. It was put on for the 24-year replacement, which got bumped to this year. Go to the next slide. In 2016, we did a capital request for $20,000 to refurb the truck, which got repainted, sandblasted, new tires, rims, the whole truck got taken care of and brought back a little bit to extend its life, which probably brought us 5 years extra. That was not going to happen if we didn't do it. As of now, it still has several electrical issues and parts just are not able to be found or purchased. Next slide.
I know the principle was small, but in 2019, while conducting a training exercise, the truck experienced an issue with its pump without going down bullet by bullet. The issue that we had was we were doing a structure fire simulated training where engine 4 was our primary engine supplying the water to the hand lines that we would use to go interior attack on a building fire. What ended up happening was the engine over-revved and we were not able to get the RPMs back down, boosting all the pressures in our hose line. Inevitably, if this was not a training situation, would make put our firefighters in danger, because if there's overpressure when we open hose lines, it could get out of control. The engine could overheat, the pump could malfunction, the engine could overheat and have a catastrophic failure. The issue that we found with this, though, was the circuit board for the pump panel. The governor for the pump panel. When we contacted our representatives over at Bulldog, who maintain our fire apparatus, they had to search around. They ended up calling E1 directly, and there was only one left in the country. They weren't able to warranty it, and we got it for half off just because that was the only one. And they told us when they handed us the part, they said, "This is it. If this dies again, our truck is completely out of service." And this is what we are finding with the truck this old, being in 1999, that the parts are not available anymore to be able to fix it.
Which means our engine 4 is the last truck of its kind still in service in the country.
I mean, that's something.
We've got its use out of it.
It would make a very nice plaque.
What would you want to go with it costed?
Mother of God. You can read that. Is it, are we in an optometrist's office? How am I supposed to
Trying to put a bunch of information under one. This basically just goes over funding, talks about payments, talks about our ISO rating and our PPC rating. It's not, it's just there for information really. It's not much to speculate on during this presentation, but it's just information if people want it. So what we've come up with as a department and as a group of individuals, our replacement option in the best suit that we came to is replacing engine 4 with a Fouts 4, which is a mini pumper pictured on the left. That's actually Bolton's new truck they just got this year, and a Fouts 2,000 gallon tanker Class A pumper, that's just a random picture on the right, but it would look something like that. A lot of towns are going to a mini and a tanker because the wait for an engine is 3 to 4 years and more expensive than 2 trucks combined. Where
$100,000 roughly, yeah.
So the mini pumper now, we just got updated prices, we're at $525. They said depending on when we put the order in, we could see the truck within 6 months, but 6 months to a year. The tanker is at $575. It's up to a 2-year build, depending on chassis availability. If one's in the factory that meets our specifications for the frame rail to mount the body to be able to fit in cell station, is up to a 2-year build on a Kenworth chassis. There is an option to go to a Mack chassis, be $15,000 more, and that might be able to get delivered to us sooner, but we haven't really approached that bridge yet. Nope.
So explaining a little bit what each of these trucks are. A mini pumper holds 280 gallons of water with a 1,500 gallon a minute pump on it. When we see our big engines, which most of the townspeople probably see around town is our engine 2, comparably that holds 1,000 gallons of water, but it still has a 1,500 gallon a minute pump. So even on a little truck that we saw on the last side, you were still able to produce and push out that much water with just almost like a little package. It has 4x4 capabilities. So this can be almost a dual-use truck if we have to use it for brush fires, being able in the woods. If we have a very bad snowstorm, which we are very prone to have in New England, it keeps our firefighters safe and be able to get where we need to go, especially down the fire road areas where we have narrow driveways. They're not well-maintained for plowing, so this makes sure that we can get where we need to go no matter what time of year it is.
The mini pumper, right?
The mini pumper,
Yeah,
yes,
it
sir.
also is able to be kept at headquarters, and it doesn't require as much staffing to operate it. And the biggest thing is it has a 1,500 gallon minute pump, which is the same size pump that's on engine 2. So that one truck, even though it's an F550, could supply a whole water source for like a structure fire. So it's got fully capable pump-wise, just not water-wise.
With this mini pumper as well, we would be taking the workload off of our main engine piece right now, which is engine 2, to hopefully expand the life expectancy of that. As we showed in the previous slide, a normal engine lifespan is between 20 to 25 years. We're coming up on 8, 9 right now. 2050, so we're coming up almost on 10 years right now, and our goal is to try and prolong the lifespan of that truck.
I appreciate that. Can we go back to Ryan's point on the pumping capacity? So that means that that mini pumper, if there's a structure fire, they could hook up to a hydrant and
pump just as efficiently as a full-size. And it also operates, and the maintenance on it is about half of what a full-size truck is.
Thank you.
So the tanker now, 2,000 gallons of water, which is 1,000 gallons more than engine 2. Making it a Class A pumper helps our ISO score. That will also have a 1,500 gallon minute pump, so that's capable of handling any water supply scenario it's put in. Has 1,250 more gallons than engine 4 does currently.
Can I ask that? Wow, really?
So engine
how many gallons
engine
are
2 is
750.
Yeah.
Really?
And this is 2,000. It can also run as a first due engine if engine 2 happened to be out of service. More water, same pump. I mean, it's foam, it's got all that. Plus, it better serves our non-hydrant districts where we could be rolling up with 1,000 or 1,750. Now, if you get engine 2 and the tanker on the road, you've got 3,000 gallons. So it provides better protection for us going into a building, and also has us bringing more water, which you can put more on the fire to hopefully knock down quicker. Okay, next slide, please.
Just for the purposes of those who don't know, what does ISO stand for? God, I thought that was a softball. It's assurance and safety.
Yeah.
It's in the prior slide.
It's a rating.
No, so it's a safety, the former chief had talked about this, so it's a safety rating that the communities receive. So when you go to buy your homeowner's insurance or to renew homeowner's insurance, it's something that directly relates to the premium.
So
And
right-
so the better ISO rating that
The lower your
the
premium.
department
So
has, the lower your
We have a
rate.
dual rating because we have a hydrant section and we have a
Correct.
non-hydrant section. So we're a 5 in the hydrant and 5X in the, I believe, in the non-hydrant. The higher the rating is lower the number, just to make that clear so it's not misunderstood. The higher the rating doesn't mean like on a scale of 1 to 10, it's a 10, 10 is worse. So.
Like a golf score.
And do you happen to know how much of the town ballpark is not hydrant ready, hydrant available? Is it half, is it a third?
It's roughly 1/3.
That's,
Which is significant.
Yep. I'd say.
but even if there are hydrants in the hydrant district, Brockman Road, Hilltop, there's not good water there. So the tanker would add a lot to the suppression of those areas.
Keep going.
So some of the incidents that a mini pumper could handle is simple AFAs that we go out to very frequently for our call volumes. That includes delayed ignitions, possible investigations. We get a lot of calls into the station for, I think I smell gas, I think I smell smoke in the area. So by sending out this truck to handle those calls, it's, like I said, reducing that wear off of engine 2 so it's not constantly on the road. Minor NVAs it can handle as well, ice and water rescues because we have the space to be able to hold the suits on them. Brush fires, this truck would be awesome for because we can get into small areas around houses, into tight driveways, through trees. Car fires, any small fires and that sort, like I said, cars, brush, because we do have the water capability with the foam, and if we had to backfill with another engine, we could hook up to that as well to be able to help extinguish. Miscellaneous public service calls that we go to. For some reason in this town, we do a lot of cats and trees, so along with our ladder, we can also carry more people in this truck.
How very Americana of us. Okay.
And I guess one of the biggest things would, it could be run primary during snowstorms or inclement weather to not put engine 2 in a predicament to be involved in an accident or something, because that's a 4-year wait to replace that truck.
How many more slides you got?
So, in one of the prior slides, we talked about the mini pumper with super singles. I just wanted to put it in here so people understood what it was. A normal 550, like the ambulance, comes with 2 front tires, obviously, but has 6 tires on the rear and 2 duals. This has 4 super single tires that are weight rated and built to handle. That's basically the same as the dualies. It does give you a little bit more clearance for off-road capabilities and getting in bad areas.
All right. Okay, for super singles.
I hit the over button.
There we go.
Is that right?
Do half and half roll. So at last year, engine 2 responded to 301 calls. Mini could, like we said, mini pumper could easily handle a third to maybe half of those calls alone, which we're hoping to extend the life of engine 2 by 5 years. which averages 25 calls a month. As it is now, that's probably going to be a 20-year truck if that stays at that rate. Having a tanker could improve the town's ISO rating, which could potentially reduce homeowners insurance. This would help with getting multiple trucks on the road for incidents, as a tanker and mini only require one person to operate as a supplemental truck, as we now have auto aid set up as well to help with any major incidents. The tanker, as stated before, provides better support to our non-hydrant districts in town and would bring 2,000 gallons of water with one truck, or on one truck with one person required to do that. We weren't done with that.
So to touch upon a little bit about the non-hydrant district area and why a tanker would be very beneficial for that. Part of our operations for a non-hydrant area is something what we do is called a water shuttle or a tanker shuttle. So if we have an already 2,000 gallons of water in place, which is, for example, outside of a fire road, we have Lunenburg Road right there, or the Fort Pond Road area up on the other side. If we have that already pre-established with our water supply with a drop bag to be able to hold water, it makes the flow of continuing our water supply a lot easier. We're not waiting for another tanker to come into our town and be able to set up. We're already pre-set up, we're already piped in, we have water on the fire, and we are ready to go. So very, very good for the non-hydrant district area. Yeah, also star mutual aid companies as well. Our neighbor in town, Bolton, doesn't have any hydrants. Harvard, I don't believe.
Bolton has no hydrants.
No hydrants in Bolton.
The first one will be at the school when it's finished.
So this truck could also help alleviate some of Engine 2's workload, because if we're getting called Bolton, Harvard, Shirley, I mean, any non-hydrant area, instead of bringing 1,000 gallons with Engine 2, we could now bring 2,000 gallons with a tanker.
New one. Yeah. Okay, now you can click it. Questions? Jason, we'll go to you first since you're remote.
Yeah, I apologize if I missed this. So what is the impact to the town if we choose to do nothing?
So right now, as we said, engine 4 is near end of life. In fact, it's been highly recommended for us to not take it out. So one of the things that's going to happen is our ISO rating is going to suffer. The second thing is we're going to use and abuse engine 2 and reduce the life expectancy, thus incurring what I would consider a catastrophic event for us to not have a Class A pump engine available. And with a 4-year wait for that replenishment, we wouldn't be able to service house fires, to be honest.
Relatively straightforward. Anything else, Jason?
I'm all set, thank you.
I just asked one very poignant question. I appreciate that. Ralph?
So if I understand this correctly, 2 trucks as opposed to 1, we get more combined capacity than we have in the 1, and it costs less money.
You stole my closing lines.
For brevity, that's fine.
That sounds pretty good. Help me understand in the total picture what this represents in terms of our overall capacities. How many trucks do we have? What's our overall tanker capacity? What's our overall pumping capacity? And if we didn't do anything, how might we expect, or what impact on the ISO rating would that have? There was 3 questions there, sorry.
So as far as the equipment, I'll defer to...
So right now we have 3 engines, they're all Class A pumpers. Engine 4 is now incapable to draft, which if we had to go up north and put it...
Incapable to draft means?
Sucking water out of a pond or a pool, or instead of hooking up to a hydrant, you put a 6-inch pipe or hose in the pond and it sucks it up. The primer has failed, so that truck can no longer do that. Which, along with all the other issues going on, it's not like reliable. I wouldn't trust it to be the main piece on any scene, whether it's a water supply or a first due pump. It's just not predictable, and we've had too many issues with it. There's a few things touched on it, you know, the air leaks are really bad on it, and most recently, the mechanism to lift the cab, the electric side and the manual side have failed, so we can't even service the truck now, like do an oil change. Because the cab, you can't raise the cab, so to replace that whole system, I'm sure is thousands. So,
Yeah, I'm sold on engine 4 as, you know.
yeah, so we've got 3 Class A engines. If we replace engine 4 with a tanker, the tanker alone will help all of the ratings, but making it a Class A pumper will also do the same. Because it will have a certain amount of required ground ladders, hose, tools to make it a Class A pumper. But as the town, I would list it as a tanker because that does more for our ISO rating.
Oh, so, okay, that, you've just anticipated my next question. If you had to choose one of the two, which would it be? It sounds like the tanker.
Correct. If we had to choose, but then on that end, we would be still using engine 2 just as much and not. The combination of the two of them really open us up to being versatile on
I get
many
it.
platforms.
Yep.
While trying to extend lives where.
So we have 3 trucks, and so we would end up with 4, right?
Yeah.
So where would we house the 4th truck? Do we need a new fire station?
Your house.
When do you want to build it? And the tanker would go down and stay at engine 4, South Station. The Mini could be housed up at headquarters. Then they would be a full house at that point.
Okay, so we have,
We have room for it, yeah. This plan does not include having to add an addition on any building or any other incurred costs.
do we have an estimate on when I assume this would be capitalized, capital expense. We have an estimate on what our annual payments would be and how many years it would be financed over and.
Yeah, I have that.
While you're getting that, mind if I ask a couple questions? First, it pains my heart not to replace engine 4, but because I was on the select board when we bought engine 4, so the fact that it's being referred to as basically a dinosaur makes me feel very, very old. But it is obviously the right thing to do. I started out, my first question was average repair cost, but it doesn't matter because you can't open the.
In one of the slides, since 2020, it was 10,000. Last year was, that governor loan was like 6,700.
No, it's a non-starter too.
Yes, so we asked Ricky's for a quote to look at the air system, and it was $10,000 just to look at it without even doing a single repair. He couldn't begin to tell us how many repairs would be necessary.
Just if the PTO was leaking alone, that would be an $8,000 repair just by itself to replace the PTO. And everything on that truck is air powered.
No, look, you guys won me over. I didn't even get those 2 comments. You're fine. What happens to E4?
Trade injury.
So there's potential for trade-in value.
A whopping $7,500.
Hey, I don't look down my nose at $7,500 on it. I know you don't. Do you have that?
Yeah, so the commissioner got me some of the numbers today. My advice would be to pay a 10% down out of capital stabilization to the tune of about $158,000. That would be an adjustment at special town meeting.
It seems like more than 10%, but.
Well, it's for both. I'm sorry.
But it
I
both
was
is
kidding.
about 1.1, right?
Well, it's 558, 165, and 554, 864.
Oh, okay.
So, give or take.
Yeah, got it. So whatever it is, 10%. Never mind.
Plus registration.
Oh, right, you gotta register.
And the equipment.
Gotta get a sticker, all that stuff.
Well, it's a little.
Keep going.
So then, after that, I think we would finance somewhere around $1 million, give or take. Probably a little less than that. They're quoting at 5.4%, but I think with a larger payment down, we could probably get it down to somewhere like the 4.95. And so it would be a lease payment of 7 years, so we'd have 6 more fiscal years thereafter of about $195,000 to $200,000. If you recall, annually, we just this year got rid of the last payment for one of the former trucks, engine 2, which was $305,000. So I guess if you're looking at it, it's like $100,000
And would we
less.
start those payments now, or do we start, we put the down payment down? Do we start the payments when we take
I would
ownership of?
advocate our FY '26 payment be with FY '25 capital stabilization money.
I'm fine with, I'm
So
fine starting
yes,
early.
for all intents and purposes, we would pay it now as far as earmarking it and taking it out of stabilization. But they won't cash the check till we sign on the dotted line.
Anything else?
I do have a comment, not a question.
Then, now's your time.
Okay, good. I hate to spend money, except for when not spending money is gonna cost more money. And I'm thinking about people in North Lancaster. We don't have the ability to put out a fire, and they lose their house. That's a big cost. I'm thinking about the areas of town where there's non-hydrants, so. Overall, this seems brilliant to me. I thank you for all the work that's gone into this. I guess the one thing I'm still pondering is whether the one truck or the two trucks at this time. Please sell me on why we should absolutely go two trucks at this point and not one.
Well, you just went from a comment to an additional question.
Because that's how my brain works.
Our meeting works differently, so.
So buying the mini pumper, as we've said, will be able to handle a third to a half the calls for engine 5, extending that time out 5 years. If we don't, that truck within 10 years or less is gonna either have to go through a major refurb, which it might have to do a light refurb at some point, but if we don't take some of the wear and tear and strain off of it, that it's running ridiculous. I mean, 25 calls a month, it doesn't seem like a lot. We're just a small little town, but it's earning its keep. And if we can extend it 5 years while, giving it a break on another side, that's gonna save us, if we're at 1.2 million for a truck now, 10 years, what's a truck gonna cost? So the more we can get out of that truck, the more we're gonna be able to push off having to come up with one and a half.
You said that earlier, and I just needed, I'm still processing.
I know you mentioned before about the north side of town without the hydrants as well. And as we know with the fire road specifically, the driveways are very, very tight. This truck absolutely ensures that we can get to any house on the fire roads or up by the ponds. There's enough hose to be able to lay so we can connect to the tanker with that 2,000 gallons, and it is.
I have gotten stuck in the fire roads with the full-size engine before because they're not plowed, fully wide. So this truck it's the same size as the ambulance, four-wheel drive, and.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate the presentation. Is there a motion?
Yeah, I move for the select board to support the two-truck path.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Jason?
Aye.
Ralph?
Aye.
Steve? Aye. Kate, you'll then take the ball from here and get back to us on what you need from us moving forward.
Finance committee.
We appreciate this proposal. We appreciate the work you're doing with the equipment you have. And as always, we appreciate your willingness to serve the town. So,
Thank you very much. And we'll make
Thank you.
a copy of the presentation available for the public to watch.
Awesome. Thank you. Mr. Mullen, you're up.
So I'm so glad,
Reader's Digest is good.
I'm so glad that,
You went second?
no, that the town boasts the oldest fire truck in the country, because we also boast
You
the.
won over the museum and the
Well,
library?
no, the point being that we are the oldest Civil War memorial library in the country.
I knew that.
So that's a distinction that the community should be proud of, that we had the foresight, even during the turmoil of the day, to build such an important structure. So what we're talking about right now, CPA awarded us, or brought to town meeting, a project to repoint much of the brickwork in the historical part of the library. And the library was appropriated $70,000, and we put in $10,000 of non-appropriated funds to bring us to $80,000. And recently talking to the architect, they were no longer really confident that they were going to get a low bid in that range. So when we go out for these RFPs, we're setting costs and prices much earlier. So the soonest we're gonna go out for, well, we should be presently working on getting us to get out the RFP shortly. But it was recommended that we ask the town for another $10,000 to complete this project without the worry that we're gonna have to be in a position where we can't take the project because we're over. So just as an example, the window project we're doing now was absolutely the lowest bid by a lot, but we were short $5,000, and it was a $355,000 project. And that was a huge project that if we had to walk away, what a shame that would have been. So basically, we're hoping that this money would help us not have to go back to the town and say we're not quite there.
Sounds good. You don't have to sell me on the importance of the money. And you don't have to sell me on the importance of that building and the work you do within it. $10,000.
Yeah, so we ended up going through and auditing all of the other capital projects, and it looks like we're gonna have somewhere in the neighborhood of 89, 90, which is close, as a delta there. And so we could repurpose it for capital at
And then we can
no change to the FY25.
Great, thank you. Any quick questions for Mr. Muley?
Yeah, real quick, so can we just recap what happens if we don't approve this?
I think that's a great question. The building falls down.
It's relative. Thank you so much, Chicken Little. We appreciate that assessment.
No, this is basic maintenance.
We understand.
Essentially, and it hasn't had this maintenance, or upkeep, I should say.
And once this is done, we don't suspect having to repoint bricks for a very long time.
Not these bricks.
Right. Yeah, and the ones we're working on now, I'm sure there's plenty of others that need repointing. Okay.
Just
Any
wait
other
till you
questions?
see the capital plan.
Any other questions? Let's stay focused on this. Hearing no other questions, is there a motion to support authorizing Kate to work within the capital budget to find the resources to meet this need?
Second.
All those in favor? Mr. Allison?
Thank you.
Aye. Thank you. Now you can thank us. Okay. Awesome. Thank you. You also get the Patience Award for the day for sitting the longest. All right, next item on the agenda, we have review. So what I have remaining, for those watching at home, and for Kate to remind me, and Kelly, review and approve special town meeting articles, finalize tax fairness committee report, DCAM, finalize proposed, no, we already did that, FY26 budget goals.
No, you didn't do decamp.
We did, no, sorry, I was about to say the CPA, but we did that. So it's 3, 4, 5, 7, and 8, yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's hit 3.
3, okay, so, you know what? Jason is not gonna have,
Public safety classification compensation plan, fire, and non-union police.
yeah, if you, is there any chance, Mr. Chair, that you would wanna go to number 4?
Desperately.
I will
I
get
was
these to
just hoping
Jason
we would
via
do that.
email, that way
I
he
was
has
just
them.
hoping we would do that.
I
And I'm
apologize.
assuming Mr. Rezak was hoping we would do that as well. So we will move ever so gingerly off to the finalization of the Tax Fairness Committee report and adoption. So I will state my position has not shifted, that I don't believe the town should or will publish a report using our tax dollars that refer to reverse mortgages. I am perfectly glad to have a hand at editing the report to remove any reference to reverse mortgages. My position has not changed on that. The rest of the report is fantastic, and I will continue to celebrate the Tax Fairness Committee for the work they did. That it is thorough, fantastic, everything. My view on reverse mortgages has not changed, and it will not change. So we can keep adding this to the agenda until the end of time, but I hope we finalize it today. Since you are here, I will offer you a moment to make your case, understanding fully my position on the matter. And my hope is, since we've talked about this several meetings, that you're going to treat this like a mini public comment and not an oration.
Mini public comment. Okay. I've been working to understand the concerns.
These are yours.
Oh, Roy Rezak, 125 Harvard Road. I've been working to understand the board's concerns. I re-listened to the meeting minutes or meeting tapes, and have spent some time with the town administrators to understand the comments, the feelings, and the experience that people have had with reverse mortgages in the real world. Based on that, and based on discussions with some of the former members of the Tax Fairness Committee, because we all believe that it's important to get the major content of the Tax Fairness Committee report out, because it answers several questions that have been long pending in town. And while if people don't understand the correct answers to those questions, they will be blocked in our ability to move forward as we need to in terms of broadening and diversifying our tax base and these kinds of things to move to the future. So it's important to get the majority of the report out. We do note that the page you're objecting to, Mr. Kerrigan, is 2.7% of the report. And none of us here in this room, I think, wants to throw the baby out with the bathwater. And you've been very clear.
I love that other 97.5%.
Yes, right, okay. So we have talked, and just a couple quick comments, and then I will offer some proposals in terms of what might bring the best of both sides together here and eliminate kind of the negatives of only one side relative to what we might be doing. Okay. First of all, I do want it noted that reverse mortgage is a legal approach in all 50 of the United States. It's been around since 1988. It is also legal in Canada.
No one argued that.
Other people have done this. It is also something that, and I just have to share this with you. Okay, as many other people, seniors in Lancaster, I received a notice this afternoon of a reverse mortgage webinar that I was invited to. Okay.
I hear you. As I said, the reason why I started my comments the way I did is I'm immovable on this, so you can keep talking about the reverse mortgages, but it's not going to change.
I understand. I'm trying to...
Tom Selleck pitches them, and I love Tom Selleck, but I'm still not...
Right, we all know him from his days on that famous program, Hawaii Five-0, you know.
Oh, okay. No. Magnum PI.
All the seniors do. Okay, hold it 1 second. Wow. I just lost my...
Keep going.
Okay. So what we would propose here is a couple of sets of things. First of all, to eliminate any concern that is the town of Lancaster proposing this, as opposed to just the Tax Fairness Committee, we would take the beautiful picture that Kate snapped of the town hall off the report. So it's clear that it's not tightly connected to the town. It is the Tax Fairness Committee report.
Who was the Tax Fairness Committee appointed by?
The Tax Fairness Committee was appointed by the Select Board.
And voted on at, what was it again?
At the town meeting, annual town meeting, May of 20...
You can have absolutely no photographs, but I don't think you can distance the report from being a town report.
Okay.
But I appreciate the effort.
I'm trying to find things that would address the concerns, okay? The second approach is that we would put a footer or a similar statement on the bottom of the first page that says, the information in this report, the content of this report is for information purposes and is not financial advice, okay?
So I agree with that one. That sounds like a great idea.
Okay, so we put that...
Remove all reference to reverse mortgages in the report, and I'm your guy.
Okay, all right, so let's continue on because, you know, we'd like to see if there is other middle ground, okay, that might be accessible to other people here. Hang on a second. All right, so we would do that.
So make note, we'll definitely do that, so that's a good idea.
Okay, the third thing is that some wording modification to the Tax Fairness Committee recommendation on page 24, the reverse mortgage page, okay, which currently states, taxpayers should consider discussing reverse mortgage as a possible financial option with financial, legal, and tax advisors as well as family.
What page is that?
That is page 24 of the report. And hang on 1 second, I'm having problems tracking one thing here.
So can I just ask a question? Is there, at the end of your list, is the option, get rid of any reference to reverse mortgages in the report as this board's asked you to do?
That is one of the last options.
Skip to that one, and I think that's a great idea.
We would like to, for the sake of the other members of the select board, be able to present the other options. Okay?
Perfectly fine. I feel like the board's was relatively clear last time, but keep going, but we do have a lot
So
of
we
other things.
we would reword it to be TFC suggestion. TFC suggests that taxpayers educate themselves about reverse mortgage by consulting with known, qualified, trusted financial, tax, legal, and family experts who have a fiduciary responsibility to the client. This puts a legal issue in place relative to those advisors. Could not be just someone who is pushing reverse mortgage, would have to be someone who has to have the best interest of the client at heart legally. Okay? And that's a significant step up. All right? We would word something like that. Okay? And we would make it not a recommendation, a suggestion to educate. All right?
I mean, isn't the entire thing a suggestion to educate on?
No, the entire thing is not. I mean,
throughout, there's lots of, learn about the circuit breaker, do all these different things, go meet with folks at the community.
We made a pretty clear recommendation on the tax deferral, which we thought was not good for either the town or the senior, and no one has challenged that that's not a good statement of the reality. Okay.
Next option.
All right. So we could do that, or we would take some other appropriate wording. We're open to, open to better wording. The next approach might be to have the select board articulate a caveat, a concern, a statement to go on to the reverse mortgage page as a footer, as a header, however you would like to see it.
So we'd like to see it. I believe you've heard this board speak. We'd like to see it without a reverse mortgage page. So
if that is the final vote of the select board.
So in fairness, I think it was the final vote the last time, but I appreciate we're having
the statement last time was to come back and work with us. Okay, we were not contacted. We've been trying to bring the information forward and find a way to work with your legitimate concerns. Okay, all right. So we would offer that or any other suitable kind of thing. The next option we would suggest is the one suggested by the person who was in the, I'm sorry.
He's up there on the screen. Jason, you're talking about?
I can't.
Yeah, he's
I'm
here.
sorry.
He's on there. Don't.
He's on the screen. All
right.
Jason.
That Jason recommended last time, okay, which was that the comment about reverse mortgage be moved to an appendix, all right? And we put a statement in that says, this page, the content of this page was removed by, pick it, a vote of the select board, whatever, okay? So that's the next option, all right? I would comment that I think it is important that both the Tax Fairness Committee and the Select Board not avoid that there is some mention of reverse mortgage someplace.
Why?
Because the people of the town, the seniors of the town, know about, will be contacted about, etc., reverse mortgages. It will look to them, as presented on the TV ads that you quoted last time, Steve, like, well, that sounds like it might be a good option. Why is it that the Tax Fairness Committee didn't mention it in the report? Why didn't they tell me something about this? It seems obvious. Did they not do a very thorough job, and are they hiding something from me? As well as the same question comes up then about the select board, if the select board kind of sequesters this information off on the side. Seniors will ask the question, why didn't the select board, who says they trust me and they're my advisors, why didn't they at least tell us about this as a possible option? And it will lead to questions in terms of, if they're not calling a spade and telling us what's really there, what else are they not telling us? Okay, that which is a legitimate question.
I don't think that passes the smell test. We're not telling them everything about everything in human existence either, but that doesn't mean we're hiding it from them. So, you've had your say, so I would just say, I'm willing to entertain the appendix piece. I'm not willing to entertain it in any part of the report, because taxpayers are paying, it can be an appendix, but taxpayers are paying to reproduce this report and send it out. So I'm worried about the taxpayers. And yes, that, we can definitely look at the appendix idea, but it is not exhaustive. And so to say that by not including it, we're not being fair to taxpayers is frankly too cute by half, because we're not including every option that seniors have for their fiscal future. We're not including, selling their mother's book collection as an option for how they could stay in their house. We're not telling them they could, rent out their favorite ball gown to make, we're not being exhaustive in the approach. So to say that just because we're not including this one thing that this board's now told you several times we don't want to include, just because we're not including this one thing, that we're not telling the taxpayers what we think they need to hear, I think that is disingenuous at best as a comment, and I'm assuming you didn't mean to suggest that.
I didn't mean to be disingenuous, but I did mean to bring up the point that it appears to be relatively obvious to someone who is at all familiar in the area, and they would question why it wasn't being told to them. That's what I meant to bring up, okay?
We're going to agree to disagree on that one. So,
All right.
I'm going to give you one more minute, because we've now spent hours on this.
So, move it to an appendix. Are you saying you would agree to that?
I'm going to have to discuss it with my board. I'm not discussing it with you. I have to discuss it with my board colleagues.
All right.
This isn't a decision you and I make. It's a decision the three of us make.
Right, okay. Move it to an appendix. The last option we would offer on the list, okay? Well, two last options. One is to delete all references to reverse mortgage, okay? And the last option we think is most objectionable, and we would not be in favor of, is to not distribute the report in town widely. We think that needs to be distributed in town widely. So we have tried to provide a series of recommendations that both meet the board's concerns as well as our concerns in terms of being integrity of the report and the integrity of future reports going forward.
Understood. Look, to be very clear, we want the 97.25% released to the town. It was great work. Thank you very much.
And we will monitor the cost.
Thank you. Okay. My preference remains, but now I'm willing to entertain what Jason had suggested at the last meeting. My preference remains to delete all reference to reverse mortgages from the report. If we then wish to add a page in an appendix that reverse mortgages are a thing that the Tax Fairness Committee discussed, but wasn't put in the report, I'm perfectly fine to look at language for that, but I am not comfortable with the body of the report having any reference to it. So my position on that has not changed.
I'd like to make a motion to authorize Steve Kerrigan and Kate Hodges to make the board recommended changes of removing reverse mortgages recommendations from the Tax Fairness Committee report and bring it back to the select board for final approval.
Okay, is there a second?
Second for purposes of discussion.
Second. Take it away.
Yep. This is a golden opportunity to help educate our taxpayers on the dangers of reverse mortgages. And so by removing all references to them, we actually are stepping back from that opportunity. If we were to take the suggestion of moving it to the appendix, we would also have an opportunity to educate people about the dangers, a valuable opportunity, I would add, because people will make decisions, and I'm sure they would love to hear from us that our Tax Fairness Committee is concerned about those dangers too. I've been the minority side of this all along. I favored the prior action that, very similar to this current one that Jason has proposed, but the addition was that our chair and our town administrator work with the former chair of the Tax Fairness Committee. I would love to see that continue.
Well, the motion suggests that Kate and I look at the report and make edits.
Just for the record, I did.
They spent an hour together or something.
More than that.
Yeah.
Kelly and I have sent copious amounts of language. I sent a lot of caveats that I thought, but I can't speak for the board, nor can Kelly. So we've had plenty of dialogue with Roy to understand his perspective. I think he understands our personal perspective and sort of what I felt I was hearing. So, I mean, I sent language that I thought, but I think my understanding is that was sent to the committee, and the committee, you know, didn't approve that language, which is fine. I mean, but I don't know that me or Steve or anybody would be authorized to change the report, right? I mean, I gave a recommendation, but anybody can make a recommendation and say, thank you so much. I mean, they were kind about it. They were very nice about the recommendation.
Soft pass. And that does trouble me in that we would be, or I say we, you know, this motion, as I understand it, would authorize you and Steve to make the changes to the report. And maybe I'm misunderstanding the motion.
No,
Okay, good.
I don't believe you're misunderstanding the motion.
Okay.
Which doesn't necessarily mean that any edits and changes, we won't then float to the tax fairness committee to say, here's what our suggestion is. But at some point it's very important that the 97.25% of that report get to the actual people. And I feel like we're now doing the same thing over and over again, expecting every result, and it's not happening. So we've moved a little in that I will consider what an appendix might look like, but the move of removing all because like I don't want to take, I'm not going to go parse words, but I don't, you at the beginning of your comment said that we have an obligation to tell people about reverse mortgages. Fine.
I said we have an opportunity.
Yeah, to educate them on reverse mortgages. That's not our job, is to educate them on reverse mortgages.
Dangers.
Okay, great. Well, we'll watch the tape and then we can bicker over the minutes later. My point has been, I think of every person in this room, I have been as crystal clear on this issue as humanly possible from the beginning. My position hasn't moved, but for now, when I will consider if Kate and I can take a look at the language that would go into an appendix, I would consider moving in that direction. But I will not support a report that includes sections on reverse mortgages in the report. And again, this is not news. I have said this ad nauseum at this table at least 3 or 4 times, plus 3 or 4 times in this meeting. So the motion has been moved and seconded, is on the table. Do you have anything further you want to say on it? Jason, do you have anything further you want to say on it?
No.
All in favor of the motion say aye, all opposed say no. Jason?
Aye.
Ralph?
No.
Kerrigan, aye. So the journey continues. But we will have it resolved one way or the other very soon. Thanks. Now we are back to, where are we?
3.
3. Special town meeting warrant articles.
Okay, so Kelly sent them to Jason. So the first is the public safety classification and compensation plan. So as you know, thinking I can share, here we are. Those, yeah. The firefighters used to be represented by a union. They decertified mid-year, the same year that the town enacted its personnel bylaw. The personnel bylaw says that the class and comp plan is brought to town meeting, but in the interim, changes to the plan can be adopted by the select board and then ratified at town meeting. The Collins Center had looked at our class and comp scale across the board, but didn't get a lot of data relevant to the fire department. And that's because in our area, the fire departments, while similar in mission, are different in size and different in the number of full-time, call, per diem, etc. Some departments have only a chief, which is what Lancaster was for many years. Then Lancaster went to having a chief and a captain. Then Lancaster went back to just having a chief.
Yeah.
Then we had a chief and an administrative lieutenant and 1 firefighter. Now we have 5 full-time firefighters, a commissioner, and a full-time administrative lieutenant. And so because of those changes, our area neighbors do not necessarily have a fire administrative lieutenant, and if they do, it doesn't carry the same name.
Right.
So if you ask somebody for a lieutenant, et cetera, et cetera. So this is taking what area data that we had that were in your packets from before when we went over to the Collins Center, and coming up with a 6-step program where we have a firefighter or EMT. So instead of being both, which is all that Collins Center looked at, this is one or the other, which we do have people who are one or the other, firefighter / EMT or a reserve police officer, a fire lieutenant, a fire administrative lieutenant, a fire captain, and a deputy fire chief.
Thank you. And so you're asking us to move this on to the special town meeting warrant?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Is there any question? Is there a motion to move this public safety classification compensation plan onto this special town meeting warrant?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Thank you.
You are welcome. Next, bylaw addition, denials of permits or licenses by application is in a tax arrear.
So
Says it all right there.
Right, so we've talked about this for quite some time, actually, since last town meeting. And we are looking to allow the building commissioner and the regulatory boards the ability to deny permits to developers, et cetera, who have outstanding property taxes on other properties. And I think this is just one way to sort of button up developers, one-offs that come in. They don't necessarily finish a project exactly as the town had thought. They walk away from the project. We have a tax title property, which ends up being a burden for the town. And then they go on and they move on to build elsewhere in town. So this has the ability not only to adopt that Massachusetts general law that allows us to deny the permits, but also puts it into our general bylaws so we can distribute that to anybody who is looking to build.
Awesome. Makes total sense and helps clean up keeps past problems from becoming prologue.
Repeats.
Okay. Any questions?
Yes.
Okay.
So I noticed that it says that the licensing authority may deny, revoke, or suspend.
Sure.
So presumably the licensing authority has some leeway,
Yep.
which is a plus and a minus.
Sure.
Because people can say, well, they gave it to him or her or whatever, and not to me, and you're unfair.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that would ever happen, but
Understood.
Is that how the MGL did it?
It is, but I mean, the towns can adopt something more stringent. I guess the reason that I was trying to mirror that is that the way that the intent of this was for buildings, but because of the way it's written, there are other permits in town that may or may not come forward, small businesses, et cetera. And in a time like COVID, for example, a small business may not have been able to pay the entirety of their taxes. I hope we never go through something like that again. But the ability to have an owner appeal to the licensing authority, to have the licensing authority hear that and make a determination that's well within their purview, I thought might be advantageous.
so, thank you. And the reason why I ask this is, first, I do support the flexibility. I think it's important. So something that thou shalt, whatever, would be problematic. You've got to have some flexibility. But then that begs for some policies. Would those be enacted by you working with various department chairs, et cetera, or heads?
Yes,
Come up with consistent policies.
Yeah, so I think what each board would need to do is to kind of go through as a board and decide, what are their thresholds and litmus tests. I'm obviously happy to help, but I think it's not really my place not to tell this board, not to tell the planning board or conservation, you know, when they look, and they say, I mean, I would think that somebody who was a habitual offender, for example, somebody who had multiple properties that were in tax title, you know, regardless of the circumstances, that may be a denial, but I think this would be the first step, and then the internal policies and procedures of those boards would need to take shape around it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Jason, any questions? Okay. Is there a motion to put the bylaw addition, denial of permits or licenses with applicant or applicants when they are in tax arrear on the special town meeting warrant for October 7th?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Jason?
Aye.
Ralph? Steve? Okay, next is amendments to special acts from 2002, chapter 315, finance director language and other language to include Lancaster's finance director within the personal bylaw. I know this relates to the fact that she's been a contract employee for a while, and now we want to take care of that, because as she is it public that she's retiring? Oh.
She has made that.
Oh,
Yes,
that
yeah.
she's retiring.
Looking
She's looking to retire at some point. We'd like to clarify this for future.
So this is actually the first thing that was brought up to me by the interim town administrator and Mr. Allison in things that when I was looking for sort of what is the low-hanging fruit, one of the things that we were talking about was just kind of going through the town code. And so one of the things that is a nicety about this is as we go through the town code, now that we have the bylaw, we're able to remove some of the archaic language that we're either not following or frankly was never following. So the finance director, according to the town code, was the director of finance and budget, and yet the budget authorization rests with the select board also by the town code, so there's some confliction there. And so what we're looking to do is have the finance director through this come under the town's bylaw with the protections that are afforded to that person in the bylaw. They would be hired on a grade and step plan that gets adopted by town meeting. They would have regular reviews, the same as any other town employee, any other bylaw employee, and wouldn't be subject to terms of contract, which may be a deterrent for people wanting to work at a place, saying, well, geez, I'm only going to have a contract for 2 years and then I may not be renewed, et cetera. It allows us to be able to have some planning and some longevity.
We love it. Any questions? Hearing none, is there a motion to move this to the special town meeting warrant for October 7th?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye. Jason?
Aye.
Ralph? Aye. Okay. That concludes review and approval of special town meeting warrant articles for today. And now we move on to item number 5, which is the division of capital asset management and maintenance.
Great. So as you know, we have a grant, a second grant with Mass Development, and this time it is looking at the DCAM property and the different types of zoning, if any, amendments that the town may want to pursue to best utilize that area. And so one of the things that had been tossed around a lot is the idea of 40R. I think that was tossed around a lot because at the time a 40R district was being looked at in North Lancaster, and there was some idea that the state level has some financial benefits to that, but there's a lot that goes into that. The reason North Lancaster was thought of as a good place for the 40R was that there was, at the time that design was coming through, there was going to be transit. There was the proximity that was necessary to a major thoroughfare, which is Route 2. There was, other ample planning in areas for have a residential and a business district that was there. There were already businesses there. I don't believe that the location of the DCAM property meets those same standards. It certainly isn't near what we would call a major thoroughfare. I think you could get to 495 relatively easily, but you have to go through another town. You certainly can get to Route 2, but again, you have to go through the majority of Lancaster for that. And for these purposes, 110 and Route 70 are not considered major thoroughfares, nor is Route 117. And so one of the things that our planning director Brian Keating brought up was the Integrated Planning Overlay District, which was designed and brought up by the planning board and adopted at town meeting a couple years before I began. And so what I asked Brian and I, we put our heads together with some of our reps from Mass Development, and we put together this that you can see on the screen, and I gave the board a truncated version of this that sort of goes into the iPod district, so Integrated Planning Overlay, North Lancaster, and sort of how that ended up, shaking out on the smart growth overlay, and then the 40R regulations. I'm happy to go through this in as much or as little detail as the board needs, but
What do you require from the
what
board
we
today?
need at this point is we don't have enough in the grant to be able to fully research and build out both types of zoning. And so I'm looking for the board's idea of whether the board wants to pursue 40R and everything that comes with 40R, or whether the board would be agreeable to looking to the town's already adopted iPod zoning and trying to fit in a more residential-based district with housing. Of course, there will be some commercial development that can be in there, and we can look at that, but we're not looking for big commercial development in this area. The majority of what we would be able to do there would be housing. So I'm looking for some.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I was one a long time ago who thought, before we had it approved in North Lancaster, that 40R could make sense there, but because it has been approved up there, and we've got a project that we're hoping to see come to fruition soon, to me, it's not necessary down on the road. So, to me, the iPod makes all the sense in the world. So if I were suggesting how you're going to spend your time and resources, it would be on the iPod piece and not on the 40R piece.
One of the things that I think is compelling is that in terms of the 40R, one district cannot exceed 15% of the total land area in the municipality, and all districts combined can't exceed 25. So we would be getting pretty darn close to that. And if, in fact, we ever really want to talk about a redevelopment of Main Street, we would sort of be closing the door on that a bit. And so I just think that we need to be careful to understand that, just because this is coming up before some other opportunities, we wouldn't want to shut the door on other opportunities. This also is the first iPod district that we would actually have the 10-acre minimum. Because we haven't had that before. The planning has been lower.
Jason, do you have any questions?
So I just want to repeat what I heard, which is if we go the 40R route, we may be getting toward a threshold where we limit ourselves to other 40R opportunities. Is that accurate?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I've not been an iPod fan.
Okay.
Had a lot of success with that, but we don't want to limit other opportunities. So yeah, it sounds like iPod is probably worth investigating. I worry about getting all that together for an opportunity we haven't had a lot of success with.
And that's what we're doing, right? We just want to do the.
We just need a path to follow to bring something forward, and we can't investigate in earnest both, so I need one more than the other. It can be that neither work, and
I'm inclined to support the iPod. However, this really strikes me as the area of expertise of the planning board. How can we involve the planning board in this whole discussion?
so the next phase of this is from the grant position, is to go and work through, but we are working with the planning director. So I was tasked with this from the board prior.
Okay.
And so I've brought in the planning director and the assistant town administrator, and so at a staff level, what I said to the grant administrators is that I wasn't comfortable making the decision to close the door on 40R without having a conversation with the board, because this board has specifically discussed 40R at the DCAM property on multiple occasions. Short of that, it would have stayed in planning.
All right.
No, that's it for me. Thanks.
So, do you want us to make a motion just from a policy perspective that?
Yeah, I mean, it's.
So, is there a motion to instruct Kate to focus her energies on the iPod proposal and not on the 40R proposal at this time?
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye. Jason? Aye. Okay. Thank you. Next item up for bid. FY '26 budget goals,
So I had gone over the first 4.
which we are all set, so,
Yep.
yep.
So the last 2, sorry.
Yep.
This one is open space. Sorry if I can make it a little bigger. Sorry.
Could you make it smaller?
Funny for me. Oh boy. Okay. So for open space, the townwide goals are those that are depicted in the master plan. But for the towns, it's to develop and operate programming which creates appreciation for our rich landscapes, including a licensed recreational summer camp and outdoor programs for seniors. We want to expand mobility and accessibility through our town parks and trail systems. We want to grow our transportation efforts, particularly for disabled and younger folks, assist with food insecurities by utilizing town facilities to grow fresh food and to host wholesome food option banks. As you'll see in Capitol, we're looking to install tennis and pickleball courts there, to build a cultural and historical awareness through the museum's library in partnership with the Historical Commission, to create communications and outreach team throughout the town staff who work hard to educate and inform residents. We're talking about perhaps a newsletter quarterly, establish a townwide grant tracking system, which we haven't had thus far, but we bring in about $500,000 in grants, and I think it would be good not only to champion that, but certainly to have that built in to our anticipated revenues and those structures, and advance water infrastructure resources, which you heard about this evening, and encourage broader volunteerism by creating, groups such as the Trails Committee or a Junior Park Rangers program or something that can get people who otherwise excuse me, may not want to be involved in town government into something they feel passionately about. So that would be that one, and then the last goal, sorry, my voice is horrific, is likely the broadest one that you will see. It certainly is the broadest one in the master plan, and this is public services and facilities. I feel like when you write a job description, this is the all other duties as assigned. And then people just throw it right at you. So we tried as best we could to sort of narrow that down, continue to develop and refine our budget document to align with the GFOA standards, encouraging volunteerism by getting a better vetting system, which this board had talked about prior, standardize our townwide policies and procedures, which we are pretty much doing every meeting, educate the public about important town matters and ballot questions. We heard from the last time that we need to do something in addition to, and we have that hard balance between not wanting to use town funds to influence someone's decision, so how can we do that in a way that equally educates, update our accounting software to ensure that all of the department heads not only have access to it, but know how to use it when they go to their meetings with their boards and committees. They can report on the finances, organize their finance options by closing out dormant accounts. We have lots and lots of accounts that have $12 here and $14 here from old trusts, dating back well into the 20s and 30s. Townwide road safety assessment, continue efforts to to achieve the department accreditation for Lancaster Police, increase our mental health and juvenile services, utilize the opioid grant monies that we had to increase awareness around overuse and abuse. We want to maximize our billing, our EMS billing. We want to secure a new fire and tanker apparatus, which you heard about this evening, and design changes to the firehouse that can be more user-friendly for the full-time staff without going through a large capital process. And so those are the ones that we had come up with through there. So there are 7 goals and objectives which align with the master plan. And now obviously you've now seen the goals and objectives from the town, and that we have based and will build our budgets, as a means to either achieve those or start to achieve those.
All right, any questions?
Yes.
Yes.
In light of the fact that we're going to have some significant increases with the new school costs, et cetera, coming, as part of this review process, is there any discussion of what can be done to reduce our costs and help keep our taxes down?
Yeah, the entire last year's budget, when we did a zero-based budget, we reduced the number of FTEs by 8. We've now further reduced the FTEs by 2 more. I know there was a comment tonight. Kelly was the Health and Human Services Director. We didn't replace with another Health and Human Services Director. We just added duties. So, we're not adding people at free random as positions become vacant, either because persons move on to another community or another job in the private sector, or they retire. We're looking at those jobs and seeing if we can combine similar like jobs. The library has done a very good job of doing that, taken several part-time positions, reduced the FTE count considerably. The only positions that have increased as far as headcount have been in the fire department, and those were all budget neutral, utilizing a commissioner form. So I think if you were to go through every exercise that we did last year, there's not a whole lot more to cut. And as you can see, there's needs that are not being met with, just our infrastructure for fire and emergency services, but you're also going to hear in the upcoming meetings about buildings that are going to have to be closed because we're not taking care of them. So that's a community decision that needs to be spearheaded by the select board and the finance committee. To keep taxes at today's level, we can do nothing. We cannot buy a pumper truck, we cannot buy this, we cannot take care of the building, we cannot take care of the library. But understand the problem only gets exacerbated by that. But that's a community decision. The school passed overwhelmingly. So when I hear people say, how can you keep taxes low? I don't know how exactly we can achieve that with $2.5 million a year bill every year for the next 30 years, give or take. I don't know how to do that.
Well, we're doing everything we can.
But from the municipal side, even if you closed every building, you're still gonna have to pay that bill, So it's hard for me to reconcile the ask, Ralph, because I've heard you say that several times. I don't know how individual persons voted, but I know that the overwhelming majority of the town voted both at town meeting and at the ballot box to support the school. We have to pay for that. And if the thought was we can pay for that inside what we're already doing, we cannot. And we were very clear about that when we went through the override. We've reduced the amount of FTEs that we have considerably, in such that we saved $250,000 on contributions to employee health insurance and to retiree payments from the reduction of FTEs. That wasn't good luck, that was planning. I don't know how else to do that. And certainly there's no level that we could do it that would make up for what is going to be owed in the upcoming years.
Thank you for mentioning the comment that came up during I was quite surprised that we were advertising another position, and I would love to hear a discussion of that in a future meeting of how we're going to, where the money for that is coming from.
She just laid out where they've reduced.
Someone left a position.
So we have to fill it.
You're talking about Kelly's position.
No, Kelly's in her position.
No, it's in the budget.
Okay.
And we hire her, not her, Kate.
There's no extra, there's no money, there's no extra
This
revenue.
board does not make day-to-day decisions on hiring administrative assistants. If it's in the budget and within the structure that we approved as a town, as this board recommends to the town meeting, and the town meeting approves, and we move forward, Kate executes on it within those
It's not an
guidelines.
additional FTE.
It is not an additional FTE, no. Which is why I wish people would ask questions.
I say, no, we don't. Okay, Jason, do you have any questions on this?
No.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the budget goals FY26 as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second for discussion purposes.
Okay, what's your discussion?
We've already had the discussion, so I'm seconding it for moving it forward.
Okay, so you're gonna vote no?
Yes.
Okay. All those in favor say aye, all opposed say no. Jason?
Aye.
Steve, aye. Ralph?
No.
So, okay. I just wanna, moving forward, like, I'm really curious, what got you to the no vote after all that well thought out stuff that our hardworking town employees have put in to the FY26 budget goals? What got you to a no vote on that? And even though I'm looking to wrap this meeting up as quickly as possible, I will give you as much time as you need to explain how after a presentation like that, and the one you got a month ago, and the work this town has been doing for the last 2 years, to get the budget down and keep money under control and to come up with incredibly well thought out and developed plans, how after all that you got to a no. The floor is yours. Take as much time as you'd like.
Well, I don't believe I'll need a lot of time, but thank you for the generosity. As I walked door to door and talked to hundreds of voters, I heard firsthand about people's concern about taxes. And one comment in particular really struck me. And this happened to come from a resident in Eagle Ridge, which is right of the older set in town. And this particular person said, if I get another email advertising how to do cake decorating at the community center, I'm gonna scream, commit harikari or something. And she was making that comment. Her point was, we are spending money when our taxes are going up on things that she perceived as not adding value. And so hence my question was, have we had discussions about what we can cut that will help us keep our taxes manageable? Obviously with the school, it's bound to go up. And I'm not satisfied that we are looking hard enough at the hard choices that will be needed to keep our taxes lower.
So, no, sorry. You did your presentation, you're all set, you're off the hook. This is between the board. So first of all, this is budget goals, not the budget.
Right.
So this is budget goals.
Yep.
I don't see anything, first of all, that person's free to unsubscribe from emails, that no one requires them to read emails, they can unsubscribe from emails. I think the work that's done at the community center to give people increased things to do in the community when they might not have something else to do. Maybe that person has a very wonderful life and they've got a lot of friends and they want to go out and do something. Some folks in the community like to go to the community center and do cake picking, so I'm offended by that comment. Not that you said it, but that you thought it was relevant enough to budget discussions to bring it forward. Secondly, so these are budget goals, none of which they said spend money willy-nilly. They were very thoughtful assessments of the situation that we're in. And the budget season is when we will come up with these big ideas. Let's rush ahead on the calendar, since we are starting the budget season. What's your big idea? What's your big idea that when we get into the budget season, that's gonna solve all these problems and get that person to be okay with cake decorating happening somewhere in the town of Lancaster? I'm not laughing. I think it's insulting what you did, but go ahead, answer the question. What's your big idea in this budget that's going to solve all the world's problems?
I think it's unfair to ask me to come up with a big idea to solve the world's problems.
We asked these folks to do this every day. And all they asked was support from the elected body that they work with every day to say, you know what, your goals are good. Are we going to nail you to the cross if you don't fulfill all the goals? No, but we need to set goals. You talk about that a lot, Ralph, that we've got to set goals. And we got to stick, hold on, I'm doing it now. And all they did was what we asked them to do, and you're saying it's not good enough, but you can't then tell them what is good enough. That's what I think is unfair. So you're saying what they did wasn't right, but what is right, I can't possibly tell you. I can't possibly give you any guideline on what is right. That is just infuriating to me. So you asked them to do things without any guidance. I'm going to ask you to do something without guidance. What's the big idea that you just said you want to see when budget discussions happen? Budget discussions are happening right now. What's your big idea?
My request, I think, was clear. I'm asking for a look at goals that would allow us to trim costs.
So there is no big idea. Fine. So you voted against the goals. That's fine. Let's move on to the next item.
Jason had his hand.
Jason, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah,
Oh, we're still in the middle of a vote on it too, sorry, but you go ahead, then we'll have a vote. No, we didn't. We moved and seconded for discussion. Go ahead.
so Ralph, I think why Steve and I are upset is, what you said is we need to make the hard decisions, right? Those were your words. We need to make the hard cuts, but there are no recommendations. There was a no vote. There was not an alternative proposal. There was not a different plan. There was no, we're not doing X, but we haven't defined X. And I think that's what Steve said, right? So I think that's where the adversity is coming from in this moment. I'll reiterate, Ralph, you're new to the board, so I'll kind of give my position if I haven't already said it when you've been on the board. Last I checked, and this has been since the override in the high school, so these numbers may be wrong, but 68 cents of every tax dollar goes to the schools. 68 cents. And we're not asking to make any cuts, so that leaves you 32 cents. So you've got 32 cents, and I don't remember the numbers, but the vast majority of those 32 cents are salaries, right? So then you've got even a smaller piece of pie to make cuts. Every time I've sliced how to reduce taxes, there is no meaningful cuts to be made from our town expenses. Zero. The only way to reduce taxes is by increasing our commercial industrial development plus reducing the impact to residential taxes. That is the only way. And I'll double down on that by saying there are zero recommendations in my 4 years, not one recommendation to solve any of this. There's simply language. There's we got to make hard cuts, we got to make tough choices. Yet nobody in my history have been able to explain any one of those hard cuts. There are zero options in front of us. So I get that we want taxes reduced. Everybody wants that. But my message to you as the board, to everybody, is it's industrial commercial development. There is we can't, sure, you could make cuts, you could reduce staff, but the savings that will get passed on to residents is minuscule, and they lose programming, they lose services, they lose cake decorating. People like cake decorating. Not everybody, but people do. I'm in the camp, and I'll be happy to speak to a resident about our programming, what Kelly has brought. I think it adds value to the town, and it's not free. But people use it. You go to the community center and all that, and if it wasn't there, we'd be hearing how it wasn't there. So my message is, I'm ready to have these tough conversations, but there are no proposals in front of the board. There are no, I got an idea, outside the box idea, let's talk. The only one I think that was even relevant was splitting the tax rate, right? That was something that was brought up, to split the tax rate, and that's a reasonable conversation. I think the cost savings to an average resident is $60 a year. Maybe I have that wrong. Maybe it's $600 a year. We should go back and look at that. It's probably 60. But the impact to the businesses in town, right? We're basically telling them, the very few businesses, we're gonna squeeze you. So other than a split tax rate, that's the only idea anybody has, and I'm open to hearing what they all are. If we want to talk about, getting rid of the fire department and the police department doing mutual aid, we can have that conversation, but it's a scary conversation, right? Like, and I know which way I'm going to vote on that. So I'm happy to have a conversation about what options are out there making tough decisions, but let's present those before we start voting down really the only things we have in front of us. So that's what I have, thank you.
All right, and I misspoke earlier, we did vote, that's just how I found out you voted no, so we don't need to vote again. I will just end by saying, we, despite everything that's happened and all the work that's gone on, taxes have gone up 39 cents in the last year. 39 cents, not 39 cents on 1,000, 39 cents on average. So
I'll add to that, we have one of the lowest tax rates we've had in the last 8 years. The issues of our assessments. We are a great place to live in, right? So our assessments are going up. People's houses are worth more, right? Do we want to have a conversation about houses being reduced in value because we don't have services and programming? I don't want to have that conversation. So rates down, rates relatively low. It's not the lowest it's been in however many years, but it's very low because it's 14, I don't know. But yeah, so thanks, Steve.
You're
We're
welcome.
also the only town that has money put away already to pay for the school.
Yes.
The rest have 100% that's going on FY26, and we don't.
And I would feel sorry for interrupting you, Mr. Chair, but Stan Starr's in here, and I need to re-up the fully funded OPEB, right? Stan was here, he'd be saying that.
He would be saying that, yes, he would be. And I would also point out, and I've said this before, and Jason, so there's not much more to say to it, but Jason talked about how it's very easy to say, we need big cuts and big ideas. It's always the next 10 words in government that matter. And I've never heard the next 10 words when anybody said that, because it's complicated. There are difficult things, and there are good, hardworking people, hardworking volunteers, hardworking staff who are trying to solve that problem every single day. All the people who work for you asked for was a yes vote to support some goals. And because it didn't include some amorphous big idea cut, you voted no. And that's fine, but we'll make sure the minutes reflect it properly. So we're going to move off from that and move on to public records. Ralph, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I recently had to fulfill a public records request, and it gave me an opportunity to think about this a bit. And I am recommending to the board that to avoid potential conflicts of interest, for example, with our town administrator, and to ensure attorney-client confidentiality, that whenever one of our town officials is subjected to a public records request, that we provide, if they request it, direct access to town council.
So if you request it now, we can provide you with direct access to town council, which you did ask and we gave it.
I was not given direct access.
I told you, you look at the next person who I guarantee is watching right now somewhere and will request access to emails, and you'll see that I said, if you asked for access, I would grant it.
I believed I had asked, and I was told to relay all of my questions through our town administrator. That is not direct access. That would potentially put the town administrator in a conflict of interest position.
How?
And how?
Yeah.
What if?
My question is, what problem are you solving for?
Yeah. First of all, when I don't like to spend a lot of money on lawyers, but my experience is the time to spend it is when you're early on making decisions before you get into trouble.
Right, all people wanted was your emails. It's not like this wasn't a, what are you trying to solve for with this proposal for policy?
For example, if a requester if somebody happened to be a friend of the town administrator, and the town administrator...
Which is not, this is, by the way,
I'm giving...
hypothetical.
Let's presume it's hypothetical.
Well, it is hypothetical, because we don't, the proposal, I mean, you open the door, but the person who asked for yours was anonymous, yes?
It was, in theory, anonymous, yes.
Well, it's not theory. Was there a name attached to it?
There was no name.
So there was anonymous, okay. So I'm going to ask one more time, what are you trying to solve for with this with the policy proposal. I'm not asking for hypothetical, I'm not asking for anything. Just tell me, what are you trying to solve?
I am trying to make sure, we have a policy, that when a town official requests access to town council to consult for public records, that they automatically be given access to town council.
Yeah, okay.
And not have to relay questions to town administrator.
Well, no, so board members, and this is our policy, board members, if they want to talk to town council directly, just have to ask me. What your questions were, how to comply with public records laws, which she does constantly. So it was really, let's shortcut this and ask Kate what is necessary to comply with this simple public records request. So a town council request, as a board member, you should know, I know Jason knows, if he wishes to speak to town council, ask me, and we make the
I
contact
also
with town
find the
council.
entire thing that you just said absolutely appalling. That you would even say that in an open session when you don't know a thing about me.
Right. So, at any rate, so you're asking for a policy that exists. We're not going to automatically give access because that means that any member could talk to town council any day of the week, twice on Sunday, and we're not going to do that. I mean, I can't speak for the board, but if you'd like to make a motion, we'll see if there's a second and how it goes.
I move that we henceforth provide direct access to town council for town officials who are subjected to a public records request.
Is there a second? Hearing none, your motion fails for lack of a second. Anything else you want to bring up in public records?
That was it, thank you.
Okay. Do we have a motion to go into executive session?
Yeah. All right. Move to enter executive session. The select board will be in executive session pursuant to MGL Chapter 30A, 21A for the following purposes. Purpose 3, to discuss strategy with respect in the matter of town Lancaster plaintiff versus Heather Lennon, Richard Belanger, and Lancaster Historical Society defendants versus Lancaster Historical Society counterclaim plaintiffs versus Steve Berrigan and Jason Allison, counterclaim defendants, as the chair has determined that discussion in open session would have a detrimental effect on the town's litigation position. And Purpose 2, to conduct a strategy session in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, town bylaw, non-contracted employees. And Purpose 7, to comply with or to act under the authority of any general, special law or federal grant and aid requirements, specifically as it relates to open meeting law, GL Chapter 30A, Section 22FG, and for the purposes of discussing and improving the select board executive session minutes from August 5th, 2024, and not to reconvene in open session thereafter.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor going into open session, going into executive session, Jason?
Aye.
Ralph?
Aye.
Steve? Aye. Folks, we are going into executive session. Thank you very much. We're not going to reconvene.